All right, gang, so let's wrap this up here. Chapter 51, coming out of the end. This is the very last bit. The very last story you hear about Jeremiah is this very one. And this is the last part of the reading and maybe a 2 minute lesson or I don't know, there's a lot. So there's the chapter 25 bit, right? You got to go back before the 50 and 51 to the first part of the prophecy about the last one that's a big Jeremiah. So this is how it all ends. We've heard it. The broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. The people will labor in vain, and the nations because of the fire, and they shall be weary. That is how it ends. Now, actually it ends, thus says the Lord of hosts. The broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. The people will labor in vain, and the nations because of the fire, and they shall be weary. Right. That's verse 58 in full. All right. Verse 59 is the last little bit you hear about Jeremiah's life. I believe this is the last check where he is. We know he's in Egypt at the check before this. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Seraiah the son of Neriah the son of Maaseiah when he went with Zedekiah the king of Judah to Babylon. Oh no! So this is when he went when either Jeremiah or one of these people, right, went with Zedekiah the king of Judah to Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. So I imagine, and Seraiah was the quartermaster. So there you go. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that would come upon Babylon. All these words that are written against Babylon, this exact thing. And Jeremiah said to Seraiah, when you arrive in Babylon and see it and read all these words, then you shall say, O Lord, you have spoken against this place to cut it off, so that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but it shall be desolate forever. Now it shall be, when you have finished reading this book, that you shall tie a stone to it and throw it out into the Euphrates. Then you shall say, thus Babylon shall sink and not rise from the catastrophe that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Reiterating what he says at the end of verse 58. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. That is the last we find out about it. He sends some letter by way of this guy Seraiah. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Seraiah, this guy, the son of Neriah, the son of Maaseiah, when he went with Zedekiah to the king Zedekiah the king of Judah to Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. So this Seraiah the son of Neriah goes with Zedekiah the king of Judah to Babylon in the 4th year of Zedekiah's reign. And Seraiah was a quartermaster, so Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that would come upon Babylon. All these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Seraiah, when you arrive in Babylon and see it and read all these words, then you shall say, O Lord, you have spoken against this place to cut it off, so that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but it shall be desolate forever. Now it shall be, when you have finished reading this book, that you shall tie a stone to it and throw it out into the Euphrates. Then you shall say, thus Babylon shall sink and not rise from the catastrophe that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Chapter 52. Because that was verse 64, I believe, or something. And that's the last. So there's 64 verses in chapter 51. And 50 is a very long chapter, and they're continuous. So, I mean, they're both, it's crazy. And it takes 30 minutes just to read it. Let alone to think about, go back and think about the words. That takes longer. That's why people comb through. But if you get the gist, I think he's just going off on people. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamatal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. He also did evil in the sight of God, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. He also did evil in the sight of Yahweh. He also did evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. This is the fall of Jerusalem reviewed, chapter 52. This is the last thing in Jeremiah, and then you get Lamentations, also written by Jeremiah. But that's like poetry, and really sad, because they decimated this place, Jerusalem. The Babylonians did. I think God was pleased to let them do this. He said he didn't hate Nebuchadnezzar, but Jehoiakim or whatever, I don't know, Jehoiakim or whatever his name is. Zedekiah was 21 years old, so that's the backstory to chapter 52. 6 minutes in, and here we go with the reading. Zedekiah was 21 years old. Smeagol. Right, and we've already had the reading because, as we know, Jeremiah's command to Sariah, which was verses 59 of 64 on blank, we've already read twice. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. He also did evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For because of the anger of the Lord, this happened in Jerusalem and Judah, till God finally cast them out from his presence. Then Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Which was first no more mistakes, Now it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army came against Jerusalem and encamped against it. And they built a siege wall against it all around. So the city was besieged until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. By the 4th month, on the 9th day of the month, the famine had become so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city wall was broken through, and all the men of war fled and went out of the city at night by way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden, even though the Chaldeans were near the city all around. And they went by way of the plain. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king, and they overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. All his army was scattered from him. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath. And he pronounced judgment on him. Then the king of Babylon killed the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. And he killed all the princes of Judah in Riblah. He also put out the eyes of Zedekiah. And the king of Babylon bound him in bronze fetters and took him to Babylon and put him in prison till the day of his death. Now that's Zedekiah. The other guy fared a little better, but I don't think Nebuchadnezzar cared for these people. But Daniel, he sure liked. Verse 12 of chapter 52, the last chapter of Jeremiah. Here we go. So this is during the fall. So we've gotten up to there. We know what happened to Zedekiah. He also put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and the king of Babylon bound him in bronze fetters, took him to Babylon, and put him in prison till the day of his death. Now in the 5th month, on the 10th day of the month, which was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. All right. Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard. No, this is Nebuzaradan. Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, who served Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. This is Nebuzaradan. He burn the house of the Lord and the king's house, all the houses of Jerusalem, that is, all the houses of the great, he burned with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans who were with the captain of the guard broke down all the walls of Jerusalem all around. Then Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive some of the poor people, the rest of the people who remained in the city, the defectors who had deserted to the king of Babylon, and the rest of the craftsmen. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. The bronze pillars that were in the house of the Lord, and the carts and the bronze sea that were in the house of the Lord, the Chaldeans broke in pieces and carried all their bronze to Babylon. They also took away the pots, the shovels, the trimmers, the bowls, the spoons, and all the bronze utensils with which the priests ministered, the basins, the fire pans, the bowls, the pots, the lampstands, the spoons, and the cups, whatever was solid gold and whatever was solid silver, the captain of the guard took away. The 2 pillars, 1C, the 12 bronze bulls which were under it, and the carts which King Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the bronze of all these articles was beyond measure. Now concerning the pillars, the height of one pillar was 18 cubits. A measuring line of 12 cubits could measure its circumference, and its thickness was 4 fingers. It was hollow. A capital of bronze was on it, and the height of one capital was 5 cubits, with a network and pomegranates all around the capital, all of bronze. The second pillar with pomegranates was the same. There were 96 pomegranates on the sides. All the pomegranates all around on the network were 100. The captain of the guard took Sariah the chief priest, Zephaniah the second priest, and the 3 doorkeepers. He also took out of the city an officer who had charge of the men of war, 7 men of the king's close associates who were found in the city, the principal scribe of the army who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the midst of the city. And Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took these and brought them to the king of Babylon at Riblah. Then the king of Babylon struck them and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. Thus Judah was carried away captive from its own land. These are the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive. In the 7th year, 3,023 Jews. In the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, he carried away captive from Jerusalem 832 persons. In the 23rd year of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive of the Jews 745 persons. All the persons were 4,600. Now it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, not Jehoiakim or Kim, or I think it's like his cousin or something, or like his dad, or maybe it's the same guy, but it's one of them. There's like 2 Jehoiakins, there's an upper and a downer, and they're both bad, right? And then there's the other guy who already dead. Now it came to pass in the Zedekiah, and then there's Jehoiakim, but then there's Jehoiachin, right? This is Jehoiachin, all right, not Jehoiakim. You see, it's like a little different. Now it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 25th day of the month. Now it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 25th day of the month, that Evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the first year of his reign, lifted up the head of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, and brought him out of prison. And he spoke kindly to him and gave him a more prominent seat than those of the kings who were with him in Babylon. So, so Jehoiachin changed from his prison garments, and he ate bread regularly before the king all the days of his life. Thereafter, of course. And as for his provisions, there was a regular ration given him by the king of Babylon, a portion for each day, until the day of his death, all the days of his life. And yes, that you read that right. Evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the first year of his reign, lifted up the head of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, and brought him out of his prison. And he spoke kindly to him and gave him a more prominent seat than those of the kings who were with him in Babylon. So Jehoiachin changed from his prison garments, and he ate bread regularly before the king all the days of his life. And as for his provisions, there was a regular ration given him by the king of Babylon, a portion for each day until the day of his death, all the days of his life. And yes, you heard right. Now it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 25th day of the month. You know, like if that's, we don't know, does he mean the Jewish calendar? Then it's not Christmas. But in the new calendar, the 25th day of the 12th month is Christmas. That evil Merodach, Evil-Merodach, king of Babylon. And that's Awil Marduk, Awil-Marduk. And I think it's probably that one, and they just call him Evil Merodach or something. Awil Marduk, king of Babylon, whoever that one was. It's in the 37th year, so I think that's the guy that comes between Nebuchadnezzar and, like, his grandson who, like, sees writing on wall. I think it's probably that one, but I'm not certain. But anyway, that is Jeremiah, and of course it ends where it begins. How lonely sits the city that was full of people. How like a widow is she who is great among the nations. The princess among the provinces has become a slave. She weeps bitterly in the night, her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she has none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They have become her enemies. Judah has gone into captivity, under affliction and hard servitude. She dwells among the nations, she finds no rest. All her persecutors overtake her in dire straits. The roads to Zion mourn because no one comes to the set feasts. All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh, her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Her adversaries have become the master, her enemies prosper, for the Lord has afflicted her. Because of the multitude of her transgressions, her children have gone into captivity before the enemy. And from the daughter of Zion, all her splendor is departed. Her princes have become like deer that find no pasture. Her princes have become like deer that find no pasture, that flee without strength before the pursuer. In the days of her affliction and roaming, Jerusalem remembers all her pleasant things that she had in the days of old, when her people fell into the hand of the enemy with no one to help her. The adversaries saw her and mocked at her downfall. Jerusalem has sinned gravely, therefore she has become vile. All who honored her despise her, because they have seen her nakedness. Yep, yes, She sighs and turns away. Her uncleanness is in her skirts. She did not consider her destiny. Therefore, her collapse was awesome. She had no comforter. O Lord, behold my affliction, for the enemy is exalted. Just one sec. The adversary has spread his hand over all her pleasant things, for she has seen the nations enter her sanctuary, those whom you commanded not to enter your assembly. Speaking back to God, those who you commanded not to enter into your assembly. All her people sigh, they seek bread, they have given their valuables for food to restore life. See, O Lord, and consider, for I am scorned. Is it nothing to you, all you who pass by? Behold and see if there is any sorrow like my sorrow, which has been brought on me, which God has inflicted in the day of his fierce anger. From above, God has sent fire into my bones, and it overpowered them. He has spread a net for my feet and turned me back. He has made me desolate and faint all the day. The yoke of my transgressions was bound. They were woven together by God's hands and thrust upon my neck. God made my strength fail. The Lord delivered me into the hands of those whom I am not able to withstand. The Lord has trampled underfoot all my mighty men in my midst. God has called an assembly against me to crush my young men. The Lord trampled as in a winepress the virgin daughter of Judah. For these things I weep. My eye overflows with water, because the Comforter who should restore my life is far from me. My children are desolate because the enemy prevailed. Zion spreads out her hands, but no one comforts her. The Lord has commanded concerning Jacob that those around him become his adversaries. Jerusalem has become an unclean thing among them. The Lord is righteous, for I rebelled against his commandment. Hear now, all peoples, and behold my sorrow. My virgins and my young men have gone into captivity. I called for my lovers, but they deceived me. My priests and my elders breathed their last into the city, while they sought food to restore their life. See, O God, that I am in distress. My soul is troubled. My heart is overturned within me, for I have been very rebellious. Outside the sword bereaves, at home it is like death. They have heard that I sigh, but no one comforts me. All my enemies have heard of my trouble. They are glad that you have done it. Bring on the day you have announced, that they may become like me. Let all their wickedness come before you, and do to them as you have done to me, for all my transgressions. For my sighs are many, and my heart is faint. That is the first lamentation. There is a second, third, fourth, and I think fifth, and that's it. That's the book of Lamentations, written by Jeremiah, who's still complaining about his treatment and his affliction, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely post, once he got to Egypt. But it seems like he even gets back to look and back at the city and write this. But you don't necessarily know that, but I mean, some things are so specific as to what the hell happened to those people, his peers, who the rest of Jeremiah is about, not the last bit with this thing, like his life, like back then, and how those people get carried away by Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuzaradan and all them. And they burn everything and they kills everything. But at some point in the future, that tides will turn, and even Nebuchadnezzar won't care and will sneer mightily, right along with his buddy Daniel and anyone who listened to Nebuchadnezzar when he said, Daniel's God, the God of the Jews, Yahweh, is the God of the gods, and you better never forget it, and I have decreed it to all of the empire. And I'm fine with that, and you better be too. And that was then, the golden head guy. But then from there, you got Persia, you got Greece, you got Rome, you also got probably the Roman Catholics, and you got the Reich, and you got the, other, people who are in the occult that just like pound and patch stuff with the, this empire, that kingdom, and the French or the British or whatever. But really, I think, we know we got the Roman Catholics here, but then, but then there's the clay, and I think that's strange clay that's mixed in with that cement there. But then also, it could be, taking whatever it is. I bet it's, strange clay mixed in with the Reich. And, then they team up, and then they trample, and then good night, Saigon. There's a rock come out of nowhere, bashes you in your brains, stuff like that. But that's not Jeremiah. That's his counterpoint, Daniel, a couple years later, who refers to Jeremiah when he wrote down 70 years from then is when you'll get back. So that's when he was alive to see it. So he does come, a lifespan later. I don't think they would have overlapped very much, if at all. Savvy? All right. Well, there's your lesson. That is in full a very long episode 9, and I will go back and compile it into its own thing, and also just 2 links with 4 and 4, because it's 8 videos or something at this point, or at least 7. All right. Well, goodbye. Blah. Hey, please don't do that. Hey, and check out the parables. We've got the parables playlist. I'm up to 16 of them, plowing through them. Jesus stuff, not the whole earth one and how it harkens back to the Nebuchadnezzar one. Not that one, not the Daniel crap. But Jesus is in both, that is true. But then he's the Son of God, and God created light first, right? And then through him, all other stuff, when saw it was good, but somehow it ties back to science. And it doesn't quite match up with, the earth isn't even around to the 3rd day, so why are you trying to match it up to 24 hours when the earth is without form, null and void, and just part of the waters of space until the 3rd day? And yeah, the sun is created after the plants or whatever the thing, but really when you think about it, I think it's not quite, maybe he's just discussing the order in which he discussed how he would tackle certain problems when he created it. You know what I mean? You could afford him that little bit of it took 6 days. It weren't short Earth days. They were long. Whatever it was, after 6 chunks of doing stuff, he took a break on the 7th and enjoyed it. That's Sabbath. And right. And if you're Jewish, you're supposed to. You can't do that. But then they hate that. They'll do that just to lawyer it. Not get in trouble with the muggle who believes it. But then what they'll do is go on and they'll work. I tell you, all right, well, but you can put pastrami on white bread and mayonnaise these days. But they don't do it because they're not worried about it because they're moral people. They do it because they're not moral people. And they think, therefore they provoke. You should not be like this. You will wind up like those damn Babylonians and those damn Israelites, I tell you. Or the Judeans of yesteryear who this was the Judeans. The Israelis were gone, man. That was the Assyrians got them. And then, Hezekiah, the Babylonians, they even teamed up because of what the angel of the Lord had just done to them. That action paved the way for Babylon to come. If not for that, he would have had his 185,000 person army. He would have overtaken, Jerusalem and Judah. And Babylon wouldn't have had much of a shot when they come back from war. And they all know that about it and come to the temple to check it out, and he doesn't hold anything back, and they're friends. But then certain kings stabbed the guy in the back, the Babylonians. No, the Jewish ones stabbed the Babylonians in the back. And, right, they do evil in the sight of the Lord. They don't listen to Jeremiah, who says, no, you're definitely going to want to make peace with Babylon here. God's blessing Nebuchadnezzar, not you. And they hate that. They are the big chunk. And no, they're not. And they get their eyes poked out. All right, but now it's Babylon's turn. Even Nebuchadnezzar is happy about it. Happy reading and happy watching. Goodbye, God bless, and happy Sunday. Today is Sunday, Sunday school is cool. On Sunday, it's cooler. All right. It's the 5th of December. Remember the December 5th. Or was it remember the 5th of December? Or was it November? All right, goodbye.